perceptions in the mind of a prospect. In other words, positioning into the mind with a basic differentiating idea. Repositioning is adjusting, altering change, perceptions in the mind. Repositioning is, in many respects, is how you market in a world of competition, change, and crisis. In other words, this is really what's on the table today, and it closes the loop on what started, an odyssey that started many, many years ago. So let's talk about competition. How do you deal with competition? And believe me, in this environment, you know, I love it when, you know, all boats rise, all boats are sinking. Well, that's it, guys. We're in the all boats sinking game right now. Okay, we're going down. Where are you going to get your business? Guess what? From other boats. You're going to have to get your business from your competition. In other words, repositioning has always been, in terms of the competitive world, hanging a negative perception on your competition as the way to set up a positive perception about your company, your product, or whatever. It's a simple observation that the public can verify for themselves. In other words, how do I hang a negative on my competition and then use that as a setup? There are some classic examples. We talked about this originally. You know, Listerine was repositioned by Scope with medicine breath. You want your mouth to smell like a hospital? Hey, use Listerine. And that set up, we have a good tasting mouthwash. That was the positive, the good tasting mouthwash. That really was what turned Scope into the #2 brand. Now, Listerine countered that very well, and that's part of the game. They came back and said, okay, it's the taste people hate twice a day. And if it tastes that bad, it must kill a lot of germs. So, you know, they were able to counter that. But the good tasting idea still is what put Scope on the map. So, classic example of repositioning. Recently, IHOP got repositioned with a concept called candy breakfast. Maybe you saw this with whipped cream on pancakes or whatever. Essentially, Denny's was setting up real breakfast. Good example of hanging a negative. You want candy breakfast or you want a real breakfast? One of the great repositioning stories of the past was, years ago, the American vodkas, Smirnoff, they said established Moscow 1818. The Spirit of the Tsar lives on. Was Wolf Schmidt, and there they had a guy from Central Casting with a big, you know, wolfhound. Then along came this ad. Most American vodkas seem Russian. Stolichnaya is different. It is Russian. And we discovered that these other brands come from Pennsylvania or Lawrenceburg, Indiana, you know, all kinds of places. And this one came from Leningrad, Russia. Stolichnaya became the Russian vodka. And it said all these guys are fake Russian vodkas. And that was really what put Stolichnaya on the map. It really repositioned their American counterparts. But then what happened? Well, guess what? Absolut became the leader because Stolichnaya dropped that idea of the Russian vodka. And suddenly Absolut arrived with their bottle and said, you know, we're the absolute leader. We had absolute tradition, et cetera. So they became the #1 premium vodka ahead of Stolichnaya. Now, what should have Stolichnaya done? Well, first thing it is, they try to get back to the Russian idea. Freedom of vodka, whatever the hell that means. I have no idea. Freedom of vodka, what is that stupidity? You know, that's one of the problems of the advertising land, guys. There's a lot of bad ideas out there. Now, instead, what should they have done? They should have done what Stolichnaya should have done, what they did to the Americans, they should have done to Absolut. They should have said it's Absolut Sweden versus Absolut Russian. Nobody knew that Absolut came from Sweden. And Swedish vodka doesn't sound as good as Russian vodka. They didn't do that. They didn't use that strategy of repositioning the second time, which they should have.